Okay, in today's cold open for Crunchtime, we're going to be talking food and girlfriends. I mean, just follow with me, okay? So first things first, last week we had Scott Frazier as our Friday guest from Grove City. Enjoyed having him on. Mm-hmm. And for one of the rare occasions, we actually had his girlfriend, was it Lily, I want to say, in the background? I think
Leslie, something like that.
Yeah, well,
Lily,
we
Leslie,
apologize.
with an L.
We're old. We have bad memories. Okay, guys? So just go with it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he told me that we needed, or I needed to go to a place called My Brother's Place. There it is on the screen. JB can see it.
MVP.
And so I was instructed to get a couple things. And so first off, with the sandwiches I got a choice of fries, or I could turn it into chili. The chili was decent.
Chili, nice.
So the woman next to me, sitting next to me at the bar, and this is kind of a very rustic place with old photos of Grove City football teams and whatnot. She's like, "Oh, is chili good?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then she sees my shirt, the In the Huddle shirt. She's like, "In the Huddle? I've heard of that." She used to work for a rival school in the PAC. We won't name names. And so she actually knew our show. So we had a good conversation. So then she is a little bit horrified to see that I ordered both
Holy
the
smokes.
Reuben on the right and the Philly sandwich on the left. And so, needless
Double
to say,
down.
I did not leave Grove City hungry. So, okay.
I hope you left with a doggy bag, though. I mean, geez, that's a lot of food, Frank. Okay, there it is.
you had to ask. Okay, we're 3 days down on this, and still looks pretty good, actually. I'm getting a little hungry just looking at this right now. So if I start nibbling during the show, great. Okay, so very good. The Reuben was better than the Philly. I'll tell you that right now. The Reuben was top notch, and so I think
you're
the
a Reuben
problem
guy,
is that,
though. I can tell.
Well, they didn't shave the steak for a Philly steak sandwich, essentially. And if you've had Geno's steak, you know that shaved steak with the cheese whiz and everything. So it was good. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't that. But the Reuben, I was eating some of that on Sunday too. I will admit to you. Okay, so after the game on Saturday, we do an interview, or I did, with Nico Flatty and Logan Pfeiffer. And we're talking, they were freshman roommates, hey, fun fact. And then Logan strikes us with hey, we both have girlfriends named Kenzie. What are the odds? Okay, and so it got me thinking the other day. I am a fan of Kick streamers, Kick like Twitch, but it's a different platform. And I frequent this one streamer named Testy, who does Call of Duty and some gambling stuff as well. Call of Duty is kind of his centerpiece. Yep. Your son probably knows the game well. I know Declan is a big fan. And so there's a user fan in chat all the time of that stream named Kens, as in like Kenzie. And I'm like, it just made me think. And the weird thing is that Kenzie is like the crumble cookie queen. And so that got me really hungry for some crumble cookies today. I'm not going to weigh 400 pounds by the time the season is over.
How are we not sponsored by these?
I mean,
gotta live it up. There we go.
These?
Oh my goodness, Frank. Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're going to bring some of these to the office later, but I mean, the cornbread cookie looks really good. The brownie looks really good. These are all 800 plus calories each in their form. They're not small, though.
At least.
Blueberry cookie. So special thanks to Ken's and to our friends in the Testy stream for making me fatter this football season. Got to the gym last night, thankfully, but it was a fun time in Grove City. Ate well, eating well still as a result of it here. And, it's always a good time when we go out to Western Pennsylvania. What do you got for me? Grove City. There you go. We're going to talk about that trip a little bit more seriously because it's got implications. We got to talk about what happens if Grove City loses this week to Washington and Jefferson. Very interesting conversation to have because it could lead to 3 9-1 teams in the PAC when you think about it. And what happens if that happens ultimately with a closed conference possibly meriting 3 bids? That's going to be weird. Maybe. We'll talk about that. A lot more. Let's go. It's crunch time for week number 6 of the 2024 college football season, coming up on season 17 of In the Huddle. JB, as I said, we got a lot to cover here. How much WIAC can we get?
Oh my gosh.
Crazy stuff that we're going to be talking about. That conference just beats up on itself year in and year out, and it creates problems for their playoff possibilities as a result of all that. We'll go into that a lot more. St. John's, what happened to the Johnnies with Concordia Moorhead basically in a position maybe to take the lead and even win the game, and we'll tell you what happened at that point. And yeehaw, Cowboys. Holy cow. What happened in Belton, Texas? Give us your 30,000-foot view of week number 6 because there was plenty to talk about there.
Well, for the most part now, we're fully halfway through the season. Pretty much every team has played at least 5 or 6 games of their regular season schedule. So we're starting to get a sense of what teams' identities are, I guess you could say. And conference races are starting off in ways that we didn't see coming. It's hard to predict, and there have been some big upsets the last couple of weeks, and there have been some performances by teams that we kind of thought we knew who they were based on some prior experience, and then this weekend they go out and just don't show up. So it's been kind of a weird couple of weeks, Frank. There's definitely been a shift in where I think we thought things were going and where they're actually headed. So, I mean, for the teams that are 1-1 in their conference, hey, end of the day, you're still in it. Tiebreakers may shake things out. You may still have a chance to play the team that's undefeated in your conference later on in the schedule, so you can get a head-to-head win there. But if you're 0-2 at this point, yikes! You're on the ropes, and things are not looking good. So it's going to be interesting because there were some contenders early on, like teams we thought might be, deep playoff run types of programs that are literally about to get knocked out of playoff consideration going into week 7.
You look at Ithaca beating Rochester, and that becomes a quality win based on the way things are playing out. But we've said it before. Let's say Hobart wins out somehow, and Ithaca's on the outside looking in. If Ithaca wins out, including beating Cortland at the end of the season, they'll be 7-3 and will need a Pool C bid. 7-3 Ithaca can merit a Pool C bid. Our friends at D3 Datacast actually did some of the numbers on it. It's not definitive, obviously, because we don't know how the numbers will actually play out, but there is a realm of possibility that 7-3 Ithaca can indeed get a Pool C bid. At the expense of a 9-1 team, I don't know. At the expense of an 8-2 team, definitely. And so that's something you've got to watch. There are rare cases like Ithaca with respect to them being able to weather the blow, basically, or blows that they've experienced in this situation. Because if Hobart is essentially, like 9-1 team or whatever they end up being, and you've got Endicott that they lost to, and Johns Hopkins that they lost to. Again, those are great losses, but losses aren't supposed to help you in the NPI. But
No.
You get where I'm coming from here, that they're going to have some quality numbers in there. This is perhaps where the committee went wrong, though, with win-loss being so dominant compared to other sports, because that strength of schedule probably should mean something when Ithaca schedules that way. We'll see when it plays out ultimately.
Yeah.
Time for us to get serious about the games from week number 6. Get you the highlights. Here we go. We got all 14 sets in the end, even though 2 of them were kind of late coming in. We made it happen. So, folks, this is crunch time for week number 6 of the 2024 Division III college football season. We will start with Del Val at Lebanon Valley in Region 1. 7-11 left first quarter. Jack Fallon for DVU gets a 5-yard touchdown run to make it 7-0 Delaware Valley. 2:53 left first quarter. Jeremy Boers Jr. gets a 2-yard touchdown pass from Braden Bohannon to tie the game at 7 apiece. Second quarter, minute and a half into it, Del Val's Jack Fallon again. A 1-yard touchdown run makes it 14-7, Del Val leading. Lev Val added a field goal midway through the second quarter, and then with 10 seconds left in that second quarter, they also add a touchdown. Deshaun Wilson gets a 2-yard touchdown pass from Bohannon. It's 16-14, Lebanon Valley leading at halftime. Third quarter, 8:28 left. Del Val's Dylan Shamanow gets an 11-yard touchdown pass from Louis Barrios IV, 21-16 at that point. Then, here's an interesting one. There is replay in the MAC apparently. This took forever ultimately. It looks like DVU has the first down, but after further review, no, down by contact short of it, it forces a punt back to Lebanon Valley. So we'll go 2:07 left, fourth quarter. Del Val's 6-yard line we're at, Braden Bohannon is incomplete, and they turn over the ball on downs. Maybe they should have gone for the field goal because they do get the ball back. The last play of the game is 2nd and 3 from the Del Val 32. Braden Bohannon rushes for 7 yards, but tries to get it back to a teammate. Can't find anybody. It's recovered by Del Val, but the clock had expired, and that would do it. Del Val wins 21-16. Del Val trailed 16-14 at the half. Braden Bohannon 3-3 total yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and the Del Val defense forced 4 turnovers. Also in Region 1, Stevenson at Widener. 9:27 left first quarter. Ryan Patterson gets a 35-yard field goal. That made it 3-0 Widener. First quarter, 4:04 left. LJ Blackwell gets a 1-yard touchdown run for the Mustangs. That made it 7-3, their lead. We're going to skip ahead to the fourth quarter in this game. 11:17 left. Stevenson's Donnie Waite gets a 23-yard field goal to make it 10-3 Stevenson. Eventually, Widener would get the ball back with 1:55 left, but 2 plays later, you'll see Jeff Chaplin intercepted by Maki Walker, and that would do it. Widener can't get the ball back in the game. Stevenson wins 10-3. LJ Blackwell for Stevenson, 30 rushes, 102 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Jalen Richardson from Widener, 2 receptions, 67 yards on the day. JB, Region 1. A little quiet by some accounts, but still some nice action there. The MAC is playing out interestingly, and I'll announce right now that I will go to MAC country this weekend for the first time this season, I believe, as undefeated FDU Florham visits Del Val, the aforementioned Del Val Aggies. Go for it for Region 1.
Yeah, well, there you go. We got the mayor going into to MAC country. I love it. Merchant Marine went to Cambridge, won 21-0, kind of going away there, so not a big challenge there for the Mariners, but a little lower scoring, so you got to give the engineer some credit there. Curry took care of Alfred State 30-16. Misericordia and Albright were close one, 13-10 goes to the Cougars. Speaking of FDU Florham, they won their 5th game in a row. They're one of 21 undefeated teams. We'll talk a little bit more about that, I think, on Friday. But yeah, 37-26. A little closer call, though, than we thought. The Devils' defense will have a tougher test against the Aggies on Saturday. Husson blanks Dean 24-0. Kings beats Eastern 35-23. Bowdoin takes care of Amherst 35-7. We had Wesleyan needing overtime to take care of Colby 23-17 in a pretty exciting game there. Trinity, though, takes care of Hamilton 31-7. And there's an interesting one here, Frank. Middlebury goes to overtime with Williams, and Williams kicker Ivan Shurin was 5 for 5 on field goals, 43, 32, 32, 28, and 22 yards. So 15 points of Williams' 29 were from their kicker. And I guess at the end of the day, maybe it tells you you can't win games with field goals over touchdowns. So congratulations to the Panthers. That's a big win. It sets them up with a big game, I believe, against Trinity in the next week. Finally, 45-22, Tufts over Bates, and that wraps up Region 1.
I'm going to prove you wrong about 5 field goals, not necessarily winning a game type situation later on here in crunch time. We'll see. Let's go to Region 2 and the game I attended, Carnegie Mellon at Grove City. First quarter, 1:24 left. It took a while, but Justin Caputo gets a 43-yard field goal for Carnegie Mellon to make it 3-0 at the end of that first quarter. Second quarter, 3:34 left. Grove City's Ryan Heckathorn gets a 4-yard touchdown pass from Logan Pfeiffer to give Grove City the 7-3 lead. Just before halftime, they'd add to it. 21 seconds left, Daniel Sullivan, 25-yard field goal to make it 10-3, Grove City leading at halftime. Third quarter, here's a big play. It looked like Carnegie Mellon was going in to score, but Bowden Davidson intercepts Ben Mills right at the goal line area and gets it back to the 16-yard line. Later, Grove City would punt to the Carnegie Mellon 3 after that interception, and then basically people said it was popped out. Actually, it was just a bad handoff. You can see it here. Ryan Montgomery lands on it for the fumble and touchdown, and that is a big play. 17-3 with 4:20 left, third quarter. Grove City leading. About 3 minutes later, though, Carnegie Mellon gets on the scoreboard again. Reese Kolke gets a 17-yard touchdown pass from Ben Mills to make it a 17-10 game. Momentum was clearly swinging CMU's way, including on defense with 9 seconds left in the third quarter. Pfeiffer intercepted by Jackson LaJoy, former guest of our show, and that was a big play until one play later, Ben Mills is intercepted for the second time by Bowden Davidson at the goal line. And so now with a touchback in that situation, Carnegie Mellon had one true chance to tie or take the lead in the red zone. On 3rd and 10, though, from the 16, here is a big play. Ben Bledel with the big sack of 11 yards, and that forced a field goal attempt instead of going for it on 4th down, and it was no good from 45 yards out. Grove City would punt. Carnegie Mellon would face a 4th and 11 from their own 25, but after burning their final timeout, they do not convert. Grove City wins the game. And what a game it was, 17-10. Ben Mills, 29 for 46, 282 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 2 interceptions, though. Nico Flotti, 30 rushes for 77 yards. Grove City's defense, 3 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, fumble recovery for touchdown by Ryan Montgomery. Let's go next to Rochester at Ithaca. Third quarter, we're going to fast forward to 6:10 left. Ithaca's Nicholas Lang, a 68-yard touchdown pass from Matthew Parker, made it a 10-0 lead for Ithaca. Fourth quarter, 50 seconds into it, Jalen Leonard Osborne, a 25-yard touchdown run, makes it 17-0 Ithaca. Then we'll look at the defense here. It looked like Rochester was going to go in to score 4th and goal from the 1, but no. Daniel Pampatonis cannot get there, loses 2 yards in fact, and so eventually it sets up Jalen Leonard Osborne again. 28-yard touchdown run, 24-0 at that point for Ithaca. That would be the final score. Ithaca wins 24-0. Ithaca led 3-0 at the half. Ryan Rose from Rochester, 17 for 29, 162 yards, 2 interceptions. Jalen Leonard Osborne, 18 rushes, 102 in yardage, and 2 rushing touchdowns. A lot of people ask, why not give it to him more? He is a workhorse out there indeed for Ithaca. Dickinson at Christopher Newport rounds out Region 2 for our video highlights, and we're tied at 14 late in the first half. We'll go to the second quarter, 4:12 left. Keith Campbell from Dickinson gets a 25-yard touchdown run and make it 14 apiece at that point. Then, just before halftime, Dickinson scores again, he said. Rocco DeRico gets an 18-yard touchdown pass from Ben Klassen to make it 21-14 Dickinson at halftime. A Dickinson field goal made it 24-14 with 7 minutes left in the third. So just after that, Colin Hart gets a 50-yard touchdown pass from Connor Berry for Christopher Newport to narrow the gap. 24-21 now, Dickinson leads. Third quarter, 4 seconds left. Connor Berry gives the lead back to Christopher Newport. A 2-yard touchdown run, 28-24 CNU. With 5:05 left in the fourth quarter, CNU has a chance at a field goal, but the 19-yard field goal is missed wide right. And so Dickinson with a chance And Rocco DeRico gets a 22-yard touchdown pass from Ben Klassen with 57 seconds left, and that made it 31-28. So how big was that missed field goal? That would have been a tie game at that point. Chance for CNU at the end, 4th and 10, and the pass is incomplete, and that would do it. Dickinson with a somewhat surprising result to a lot of people out there. 31-28, they beat CNU. Connor Berry, 269 total yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, and an interception. Rocco DeRico, 4 catches, 88 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns on the day. Still some out-of-conference play, obviously, going on between the NJAC and the Centennial. Yeah. We're kind of rounding all that stuff out, though, right now. But that result could play an interesting role later on if either one of those two teams is in Pool C potential contention later on. CNU probably played their way out of it there, but Dickinson might still be there. We'll see.
Yeah, we will. And speaking of the Centennial, we did have a Friday night game between Hopkins and Gettysburg that the Blue Jays won going away 51-7. Cortland took care of Utica by almost the same score, 45-7. Susquehanna put up 79 points. I think that was a program record for them in the win over Keystone. Salisbury blanks William Patterson 63-0. It really looks like the Seagulls are the team to beat in the NJAC, particularly after that the last couple of weeks of CNU taking some losses. Alfred comes up short 14-24 against Morrisville State on the black turf. Moravian wins for 34-14 in landmark play. Wilkes takes care of Lyco 53-28. We saw St. Lawrence and RPI in a close one. It was 13-10 at the half, but the Engineers had a big second half on the way to a 34-10 win. St. John Fisher takes care of Hilbert 52-6. Speaking of 70 burgers, we had W&J with 74-21 win over Geneva. Brockport takes care of Hartwick 53-0. I've highlighted this Teal Allegheny game, the 21-7. Apparently, the Tomcats threw like a 95-yard touchdown pass in this, Frank. It broke some school records, so there was an exciting win for them. Their first of the season, so congratulations to Teal. Your Sinus needed to hang on in the tough battle against F&M and Centennial play. There was a young man named Connor Carter who is a defensive end. He had 4 sacks and 5 tackles for loss, which and a couple of forced fumbles in that one. And the Bears needed that because that was a close call. Maybe a little deceivingly there because I think F&M scored pretty late in the fourth quarter, so it was never really in doubt. But still, it's a 6-point game, and your Sinus remains unbeaten. Rowan takes care of TCNJ 36-22. Muhlenberg wins 34-6 over McDaniel. Hobart wins 31-3 over Buffalo State. Westminster 49-7 over Bethany. And then Kane and Montclair State. This was a crazy situation here, Frank. We had a extra point that would have tied the game for Montclair get blocked and scooped up by junior linebacker Tommy Lee Pearson and returned 88 yards for a 2-point play. Ended up being the difference in the game. We'll be talking a little more about Tommy Lee, I think, later this show. And finally, to round out Region 2, Case Western staying unbeaten in PAC play, 49-0 over St. Vincent.
If you're unbeaten PAC play, you're unbeaten, period, because they don't play anybody else for at least this year.
Fair enough.
There we go. So got to give a special shout out coming up to Chad Grubbs, who's the SID at Hard Simmons. We talked about him on Friday. He actually was the one that got us clips for our next game in Region 3 ultimately. So thank you, Chad, on short notice for doing this, and your graduate assistant as well. Hardin Simmons at UMHB. Hardin Simmons started with an early field goal, but then on defense, 7:28 left first quarter. On 3rd and 7, Isaac Faye is intercepted by Micah Henderson, and that's a big play right there. Later on, 2:53 left in the first quarter. Wes Douglas for Hardin Simmons gets a 38-yard touchdown pass from Kyle Brown to make it 9-0. Cowboys leading at that point. Second quarter, Isaac Faye's problems kind of mount here. It is a touchdown on a pick 6. Micah Henderson returning it to the house makes it 16-0. Faye would throw a 3rd pick and be replaced in this game ultimately. Second quarter, 3:17 left. Hardin Simmons, Noah Garcia, a 29-yard touchdown run makes it 23-0 Cowboys. They're not done yet in the first half. 45 seconds left. Dozie Ifidi gets a 28-yard touchdown pass from Kyle Brown. It's 30-0 at halftime. Hardin Simmons leading. It didn't get any better really in the third quarter with 10:53 left as Chris Sims gets an 82-yard touchdown pass from Kyle Brown to make it 37-0 Hardin Simmons. Yes, Hardin-Simmons would give up some points late, but it didn't matter. It was 44-21 final. Cowboys winning. Cameron Ferguson from UMHB did have 17 rushes for 70 yards and 1 rushing touchdown, but Kyle Brown, 16 for 22, 307 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and an interception in that game. Wow, more on that later. Center at Millsaps, our friends at Millsaps with some great commentary as always. Second quarter, 1:17 left. Center's Ethan Mays gets a 7-yard touchdown pass from Jack Goman to make it 14-0, Center leading. Halftime would in fact be 17-0 after a 46-yard Cam Teggy field goal. But third quarter, 10:55 left. Let's go 24-0. Carter Chandler from Center, a 16-yard touchdown pass from Goman. 24-0 lead. Keep that in mind. Third quarter, 4:05 left. Millsaps Cole Canatella gets a 20-yard touchdown run. So it's 24-7 at that point. Fourth quarter, 13:41 left. Chase Jacobs, a 1-yard touchdown run. It's 24-13. Here come the majors. And then we keep going here. 10:05 left, fourth quarter. Connor Ladner.
Looking flushed out of the pocket. Going to throw down the middle to the end zone. Got him in wide open. Touchdown, Majors!
Yeah, what a great pass. That's about 45 yards.
34-yard touchdown pass from Cole Canatella. It's 24-20. They were only 4 points short now, Center. We'll go 7:16 left, fourth quarter, and Will McDaniel is stopped and fumbles the ball. Center gets the ball back, but it's not enough for the first down, and so Millsaps has a chance, but they'd be forced to punt. Less than 2 minutes left. It was 3rd and 5. Scotty Brown is complete to Carter Chandler for 10 yards, and basically Center was able to run the clock out and survive in this game after leading 24-0. They only win 24-20. As we said, 17-0 at the half. Cole Canatella, 110 total yards, 1 passing, 1 rushing touchdown. Jack Goman from Center, 25 for 41, 253 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and an interception. Finally, in the ODAC, it was Hampton-Sydney at Washington and Lee. Halftime was 14-13 WNL. Third quarter, 8:47 left. WNL's Marcus Payne gets a 2-yard touchdown run to make it 21-13 WNL's lead. Third quarter, 2:22 left. Hampton-Sydney responds here. Austin Fernandez, a 24-yard touchdown pass from Ethan Dowdy, makes it 21-19. So Hampton-Sydney trying to tie the game. Carter Sido's pass attempt just off the mark and fails. So we will stay at 21-19 with WNL leading. Fourth quarter, 13:10 left. WNL gets another touchdown. Jacob Romero, a 12-yard touchdown run here. That makes it a 9-point lead thanks to that missed 2-point conversion. So 2 possessions. Hampton-Sydney tries to come back. 8:48 left in that fourth quarter. Terry Hicks, a 1-yard touchdown run. 28-26 at that point. WNL took over with 8:41 left, and they painstakingly moved the ball from their own 15 to the Hampton-Sydney 11. But this third one play sealed it with 1:39 left as Marcus Payne gets a 7-yard gain. They literally ran out the game on a 16-play drive over 8 minutes to win it and keep Hampton-Sydney away from the ball, 28-26. Ethan Dowdy, 9 receptions, 108 yards, 1 for 1 on passing for 24 yards as well with a passing touchdown. Running back Jacob Romero, 25 rushes, 148 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns on the day. That was a tight one there, and I'll tell you, both Center and Washington and Lee kind of have to survive in their respective games, but they find a way to kind of run the clock out and stop that last possible possession to undo the wins. But Region 3 has some good, exciting action. Take it away, JB.
Yeah, for sure. Barry didn't have too much of a hard time with Hendricks winning 42-13. Same deal with Huntington, who wins 42-0 over Methodists. Randolph-Macon, another shutout, 63-0 over Guilford. Shenandoah, at least, had a 42-20 win. They didn't shut them out, I guess. So the Hornets are still doing well there in the ODAC. LaGrange gets another win this season, 31-9 over NC Wesleyan. Belhaven wins 38-17 over Southern Virginia. Bridgewater wins 63-7 over Averett. Trinity of Texas goes and wins 45-26 over Sewanee, aka the University of the South. This ETBU Howard Payton game was pretty exciting, Frank. Maybe we should have looked into this for a possible highlight reel. 42-33 though for the Tigers. Rhodes wins 22-15 over. My bad. Southwestern wins 45-22 over Rhodes. And Austin, the Kangaroos get their first win of the season. And there was this guy named Barrett Hudson who only had 11 carries, but he gained 240 yards, averaging nearly 22 yards per play with 3 touchdowns in the 35-17 win over Lyon. And I highlighted this Brevard game. So 42-9 win over Greensboro. Once again, as we've been talking about, the Tornadoes can control their destiny somewhat in the USA South. They still have to play Huntington, who plays Maryville this weekend. So if you're a Tornadoes fan, you want Huntington to beat Maryville and then beat Huntington when you play them head-to-head. Because if Maryville wins and both of these teams end up undefeated in the USA South, then you start going to wacky tiebreakers and you don't know what's going to happen there. We'll have to wait and see. Finally, McMurray wins 28-10 over Centenary of Louisiana.
I'll eat this piece of paper. We have to sit through another tiebreaker in the USA South. That's all I can tell you. Yeah, exactly. Let's go to jam-packed regions 4 through 6, and we're actually going to adjust the order here because we're going to keep the WIAC together. So first things first, let's go to the MIAC and St. John's at Concordia Moorhead. Second quarter, 10-10 left. St. John's, Caden Wheeler gets a 4-yard touchdown pass from Aaron Severson. That would tie the game at 10-10 at that point in time. But then 15 seconds later, Jed Klang gets an 80-yard touchdown pass for Concordia Moorhead from Cooper Mattern to take the lead back 17-10. St. John's would respond, 5:47 left second quarter. Charlie King, a 3-yard touchdown pass from Aaron Severson, ties it at 17 apiece. But before halftime, 40 seconds left, Concordia Moorhead's Jed Klang, a 7-yard touchdown pass from Mattern, makes it 24-17 Concordia Moorhead. But St. John's again answers. Dylan Wheeler, a 4-yard touchdown pass from Aaron Severson with 4 seconds left. We'd go to halftime tied at 24 apiece. What a game this was turning out to be. Third quarter, 9:22 left. Concordia Moorhead's Owen Miller, a 15-yard touchdown pass from Mattern, makes it 31-24 CMU at that point, leading. Fourth quarter, though, 11:29 left. Hey, it's Marcelio Mendez. We've said that name so many times this season, it feels like. A 23-yard touchdown pass from Severson ties this at 31 apiece. Here's a very interesting call, though, coming up. It looks like there's a chance to kick a field goal to take the lead here for Concordia Moorhead, but they go for it on 4th and 1 from the 3, and they don't get it. Cooper Mattern is short of the first down. So St. John's with a chance to win the game outright with even a field goal, but they don't need it because with 1:46 left, Dylan Wheeler, 76-yard touchdown pass from Severson. What a big play there, 38-31. And we'll go to the final play of the game, 4th and 10. Mattern's pass is incomplete to Joey Hedrick. That would do it. What a scare, though, for the Johnnies. 38-31, they beat Concordia Moorhead. Cooper Mattern, 474 total yards. What a day for him. 3 passing touchdowns. Aaron Severson, though, not too shabby. 29 for 39, 399 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, and an interception. We'll go next to Central at Co. This is an interesting one to have to cover. 57 seconds left first quarter. Here's Julian Garcia-Ayala with a 28-yard field goal to make it 3-0 in favor of Co. We won't talk about scoring again until the third quarter, 1:14 left. Andrew Mohan for Central gets a 38-yard field goal. We're tied at 3 apiece deep into the third quarter. Then we'll go later on with 3:23 left in regulation, and this field goal attempt by Garcia-Ayala is no good from 32 yards out. So, okay. It's Central's Co's turn rather, to try again here. And again they miss. 30-yard field goal is no good with the clock expired. We go to overtime. Co goes first. Clay Crucy gets a 17-yard touchdown run to make it 10-3 in favor of Co in the first part of overtime. Central responds though. Cam Schulte, a 6-yard touchdown pass from Brady Ketchum, ties it at 10. We go to a second overtime. Andrew Mohan for Central. He'll hit a 26-yard field goal to make it 13-10 in the second stanza of overtime. But
let's see if he can find some magic here. Here's Cruzy looking right. They're going to go to centers again. Touchdown! That wins the game!
They finally hit the fade route to the corner.
Co's Jaron Centers gets a 22-yard touchdown pass from Clay Crucy, and that would do it. Co wins in double overtime, 16-13. Hunter Hoffman, 131 total yards, an interception as well. Running back Trenton Barnes from Co, 36 rushes, 118 yards. Okay, it's time to play WIAC times in the WIAC. And we'll start with Whitewater at Stout. 7:03 left, first quarter. We're going to call him Cool Foot Luke. Luke Cool with a 34-yard field goal makes it 3 apiece at that point. But Whitewater responds with a 95-yard kickoff return for touchdown by Tyler Vasey. And we'll talk slow as always here to make sure he gets into the end zone eventually here, a 10-3 lead for Whitewater. But later on, first quarter, 1:13 left, Stout's Adam Moen gets a 2-yard touchdown run to make it 10 apiece in the game. 56 seconds left first quarter, Brian Wilterdink gets a 73-yard touchdown pass from Jason Sinetti, and that is a 17-10 lead at that point in favor of Wisconsin Whitewater. So we'll go on here at second quarter, 11:51 left. Cool Foot Luke, a 38-yard field goal, makes it 17-13, and then later on in the first half, 1:09 left, Cool Foot Luke again, 26-yard field goal, 23-20 at that point in favor of Stout. That would be the halftime score. So a little bit of an upset forming there. Third quarter, 8:21 left. Hey, tell me if you heard this one before. Cool Foot Luke with a 25-yard field goal. It's 26-20 now, Stout. But the big one is here. Fourth quarter, 14:04 left. Cool Foot Luke, Luke Cool, a 40-yard field goal. JB makes it 29-20 in favor of Stout, a 2-possession lead. Jackson Fox for Whitewater would try a field goal from 45 yards out with 9:44 left. That's no good. And so we'll go 8:09 left in the fourth quarter.
That's a delay of game. That's got to be a delay of game. They didn't call it. Now rolling right. They'll throw it downfield right side. That's up, and it is intercepted. Richie Murphy's got it at the 30. He's going to return here, set up to the 40. He'll go down at the 41-yard line.
And that thwarts a chance, but Whitewater eventually does find the scoreboard. 3:02 left, fourth quarter. Tamir Thomas, nice pass here from Jason Sinetti, 57 yards, 29-27. So that field goal miss looming large ultimately for Whitewater. We'll go 1:10 left, fourth quarter. Here's Cool Foot Luke, not so cool this time because he just comes up short for 46 yards on that field goal. It's no good, and so with a minute 10 left, essentially, Whitewater with a chance. 4th and 18.
Gonna rush just 2. Sinetti back to pass. Oh, he gets pressure from the 2. Now runs up with 9, with 8. Now wants to throw. He throws it right side. It is incomplete. Incomplete. They are blowing it dead. The game is over. The game is over. The Blue Devils have got it. Holy cow! Stout beats Whitewater for the first time in 21 tries. Holy!
Stout wins the game. My goodness, 29-27. The first time since 2001 that they've beaten Whitewater. Jason Sinetti, 16 for 27, 281 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions though. Adam Moen, 23 rushes, 83 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. We're going to go to River Falls versus Platteville. We're going to start here with about 6 minutes left in the first quarter. Caleb Waha here on a 1st and 10 play runs for 16 yards, but you'll see it looks like he might have hyperextended or something as he finished his run. He immediately calls for a replacement to come onto the field and leaves to the sideline and would not return in this game. That was a huge demoralizing moment for River Falls in this game. Second quarter, 8:36 left. Platteville's John Gumi with a 1-yard touchdown pass from Michael Priami gives Platteville a 7-0 lead. Then 44 seconds left in the second quarter. Brant Stair, your player of the week last week, or one of your MVPs, is a 13-yard touchdown pass from Michael Priami, 14-0 at that point, Platteville. Third quarter, 3 minutes into it, Jackson Garbish gets a 16-yard touchdown pass from Priami. They're just rolling here, 21-0, Platteville leading. Third quarter, 1:03 left. John Gumi again, a 1-yard touchdown run makes it 28-0. Final score, Platteville wins 28-7. You look at the stat line for Ben Wesolowski. 11 for 28 passing, 136 yards, but he's a wide receiver. He had a passing touchdown, but 25 rushes as well as QB, 54 yards rushing, 4 receptions, 59 yards receiving because he started out as a receiver in the game.
Yeah.
What a day. Michael Priami, 18 for 28, 215 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and an interception. Then we'll round out the WIAC play here, and that is UWL at Oshkosh. Second quarter, 34 seconds left. Jack Studer, an 8-yard touchdown pass from Kyle Haas, made it 30-14. La Crosse leading by 16. Well, actually, in the third quarter, 9:12 left. Michael Stack with a 29-yard field goal makes it a 19-point lead, 33-14. We've seen this before, haven't we, with La Crosse? So, because here comes Oshkosh. Third quarter, 4:51 left. Oshkosh's Cole Warren, a 3-yard touchdown run. 33-20 is the score at that point. Then in the fourth quarter, 12:30 left, you'll see Kyle Haas intercepted by Connor Lund at the 35-yard line. They'll get it to the 41-yard line eventually. So fourth quarter, 6:19 left after that INT. It's Dan Feinart with the 4-yard touchdown pass from Cole Warren for Oshkosh. It's 33-27. They're within 6 points suddenly after a 19-point deficit. Fourth quarter, 1:01 left. Trey Tetzlaff, how did he get it to him? Cole Warren, what an unbelievable pass play from 16 yards out. 34-33, Oshkosh leads. 30 seconds left here, 4th and 10. Kyle Haas has a chance. He completes the pass to Wyatt Lemoyne for 21 yards, first down. So eventually Michael Stack has a chance. Sure-footed as he is, from 41 yards out.
Here we go. The kick is up. And it's no good! Oshkosh wins!
I can't believe it! Oshkosh wins the game 34-33. Kyle Haas, 281 total yards, 2 passing, 1 rushing touchdown, and an interception. Cole Warren, the freshman, what a day. 359 total yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. A freshman. More on him in a bit. Let's finish things off with some red-eye action. Redlands at Pomona-Pitzer Colleges, as we call it. Thanks to Flow Sports for these highlights. First quarter, 8:05 left. It is Cal Breen, a 20-yard touchdown pass for Redlands from Jaden McKee, a 7-0 lead for Redlands. The Bulldogs, though, don't do much else in this game as Pomona-Pitzer's Brennan Dragomer gets a 10-yard touchdown run to tie the game late in the first quarter. Then 13:30 left in the fourth quarter. Aiden Petruscu tries a 22-yard field goal attempt. It's no good. So Redlands had a chance there, no such luck. 126 left though, fourth quarter. Jack Walker for 35 yards for Pomona-Pitzer. No good. Well, I don't think we've ever had so many missed field goals in crunch time as we have this show. But then 2 plays later.
The snap on 2nd and 10 from the 20. Looks right, slings it that way, into traffic, intercepted! Josh Yen with the pick off the deflection. Pomona-Pitzer has it at the Redlands 30.
And it basically puts him right outside field goal range. They would get into field goal range to the 1-yard line for Jack Walker to win the game.
Snap back, hold down, Walker for the win. Walker wins it for Pomona-Pitzer.
Yes, it's good. 10-7. Pomona-Pitzer wins the game. Cal Breen, 5 catches, 82 yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Jack Walker for Pomona-Pitzer gets the game-winning field goal as time expired. That is some great action in Regions 4 through 6. I don't care who you are. This is one of the most exciting packages I think we've ever had, honestly, from top to bottom, JB. And you got some more exciting scores because we couldn't fit it all in video-wise here. So tell us more about Regions 4 through 6.
Okay, Frank, for Regions 4 through 6, we got a ton of games to get through here, so I'll do my best to be as quick as possible. Starting off on Friday night, we had Lakeland win 49-8 over Eureka. All the top-ranked teams like North Central, Mount Union, Wartburg, Whitworth, and Aurora all won their games pretty handily. Linfield also rounding out the top 25 with a 47-14 win over Lewis and Clark. Wheaton 42-21 over Illinois Wesleyan. In the UMAC, this was an important game. Northwestern of Minnesota wins 34-14 over Greenville. It's looking like them and Minnesota Morris are on a crash course for that Pool A bid. Kenyon gets a win 27-7. I think they're actually having one of their best seasons in a while with like I think they're 4-1 or something like that, or 4-2. So good on them. Augsburg takes care care of Hamline 37-27. Lake Forest with a big 54-7 win over Lawrence. Minnesota Morris, who I mentioned before, wins 32-7 over Westminster of Missouri. Baldwin Wallace wins 36-7 over Otterbein. Interesting when you compare to what happened with Baldwin Wallace and Mount Union and Otterbein and Mount Union. So anyway, so much for that syllogism. Bluffton 42-10 over Manchester. The Muskies of Muskingum 32-30 over Ohio Northern. They're having a great season too. Mount St. Joseph blanks Anderson 49-0. Rose-Hulman comes up short in a Heartland 37-16 matchup against Hanover. Marietta wins. This is one of the games we picked on Friday, and they took care of business 35-7. They're still unbeaten in the OAC, and I think unbeaten in general, so they keep plugging away there. Simpson wins 21-14 over Nebraska Wesleyan. Augustana wins 35-21. We got Cornell of Iowa taking care of Beloit 28-0. We also have Bethel winning big 59-0 over McAllister in the I guess a trophy game between the Olays of St. Olaf and Carleton. We have them taking it 19-13. That was a game we talked about on Friday, as well as out in CCIW land. Wash U wins 65-16 over Carthage. Monmouth 49-7 over Grinnell. Gustavus wins 51-13 over St. Scholastica. We saw Loris win 38-13. Mountain Luther took care of Crown 30-14. North Park wins 30-26. That game is a little closer than I thought it might have been, but so be it. And then the game that probably broke the scoring record for week 6 is Rockford 74, Concordia Chicago 45. What is that? 119 total points, Frank? Holy smokes. That's a lot of points. We got Eau Claire. This is the one non-exciting WIAC game this weekend. They won 41-0 over Stevens Point. St. Norbert blanks Benedictine 14-0. Chapman beats Claremont Mudscripts 41-13. Wittenberg takes care of Ohio Wesleyan 17-6. Denison and Worcester, which was a big rivalry game for another trophy. We saw actually a guy named Tommy Allison catch 6 passes for a career-high 191 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in that one on Saturday night. So congrats to the Big Red. Ripon wins 24-17. Illinois College takes care of Chicago 50-37. And then on the West Coast, we had Pacific Lutheran, George Fox, and Cal Lutheran all win their games. And then we had the Sunday special, which I watched, and it was pretty much over in the first 5 minutes of the first quarter. Wabash takes care of Oberlin 52-0 on Sunday. And I think that game was so bad they had like 12-minute quarters in the second half to try to speed this thing up and keep the clock running. It was just not a competitive game at all.
I dropped my earpiece, so I didn't even hear what you said because I'm chewing on my sandwich. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Week 6, the 2024 Division III college football season.
All right.
Hold on. I got to find it. Okay. I'm just going to keep eating. You tell everybody about your MVPs. Go for it.
Okay, well, there were a lot of great plays and players from week 6. It was really hard to pick just 3. But, and I normally very rarely do this, but I had to give a shout out to this freshman quarterback from Oshkosh, Cole Warren, to take a team, against a big conference rival who is ranked higher. You had a tough loss the week before against Whitewater on the road, and here you go. You come back and you lead your team to victory, scoring 4 touchdowns, one of the big upsets of the weekend. Cole Warren, offensive MVP of the weekend for me. And I'll jump to the defensive side since we're kind of all over the WIAC, as it were. Richie Murphy had a couple of interceptions in the Stout Whitewater game that really made a big difference. Turnovers are always huge, and when there are upsets, you can usually guarantee that there are turnovers. And so he made some big plays that helped Stout have that big upset, their first win over their conference rivals for 23 years. This guy is probably not even 23 years old. Maybe he is 23 years old, but either way, it's pretty impressive, so congrats to him. And then finally, as I mentioned in the Region 2 recap, junior linebacker Tommy Lee Pearson scoops up a blocked extra point and runs it back 88 yards to ultimately give Kane the win in a 16-13 game against NJAC and New Jersey State, conference rivals in Montclair State. So really heads up play by him. Big guy. He's like 6'3", 210 pounds. He was so fast. Like the camera couldn't keep up with him. If you looked at Kane's tweet showing the thing, it's like, all the whole people following him here. He was like down there. who just took off and took it to the house. So congratulations to Tommy and to the Cats of Kane for a big win. They're 2-0 in the NJAC. You know, interesting. We'll see what happens.
Speaking about 2, you lost 2 games out of the 11. I lost 6 games out of the 11.
That's how crazy of a weekend it was. And a lot of the picks that I had that were right were total luck. I mean, the Co Central game came down to overtime. That could have gone either way. The Platteville game, I mean, once Caleb Blaha came out injured, that was just a kind of a thing. I mean, what are you going to do? But yeah, so just one of those weekends where I just kind of went counter and kind of just got lucky. So we'll see if that happens again in week 7.
Or you crap the bed. Is that the term I can use?
That's also a distinct possibility when it comes to predictions. You know, you can always be a little bit off.
So, okay, we alluded to it a little bit earlier. The WIAC situation, the PAC situation, it's worth talking about because we went into the season saying the WIAC is going to be a 3-team playoff scenario for that conference. They're going to be so strong and so good and everything else, and that's the 3-team conference right there. And then you end up in a situation where, oh yeah, good luck. But then you end up with a situation where, more or less, JB, look at the PAC. If Grove City were to lose to Washington and Jefferson, which I'm sure they don't plan on doing, but hey, W&J took Carnegie Mellon to the mat, and anything can happen, especially at Washington and Jefferson, excuse me. If they all go 9-1, obviously one of them wins the Pool A bid, but the 2 others, I don't see a way they don't both qualify. And so the 3-team conference ends up being the one that doesn't play any out-of-conference games. The one that does play out-of-conference games, thanks to the Mary Hardin Baylor debacle for Whitewater, possibly. And then, you know, Oshkosh had a good go of it, so I don't mind them so much in this whole discussion. But Platteville, it's just, you look at what's developing here, and, you know, there's more carnage to go between these teams. Oshkosh has to play Platteville still, so, and Whitewater has to play La Crosse still. So these teams will continue to beat up on each other. Stout's over there saying, hey, what about us? I don't know if Stout can do this again. I mean, Coolfoot Luke, you know, if he keeps kicking the way he was kicking generally, maybe they can. Yeah. I don't know. But, you know, everything we thought we knew coming into the season, or even just a few weeks ago, as you said earlier on the show, not so much at this point. I mean, the MIAA looks like it could be an interesting discussion whether or not they get, you know, a Pool C bid that they might not have otherwise gotten. Maybe they get a couple. Liberty League, we've talked about the Ithaca situation, but will Hobart really run the table? That's another question altogether. Where are these extra bids going to go to ultimately? And I don't know for the life of me right now where they could go. Centennial, I mean, technically Muhlenberg is still alive. The NJAC has a couple teams still technically alive in it. Maybe New England you look to, but I don't see really much of front-runner status. Maybe Merchant Marine Academy, even with 2 losses, would merit something if they were to lose to Springfield, or if Merchant Marine beats Springfield. Springfield would be an easy Pool C bid, I think, ultimately. So we have that down the line to still talk about. Landmark, I think it's Susquehanna all the way. But then you look at things like, you know, what happens in the ASC ultimately? What happens if Maryville and Brevard both end up in a certain situation? Does the USA South suddenly get a Pool C bid? There are so many wide open questions. And, you know, look, Pat and Greg are talking about, well, you know, isn't this when the numbers start making sense and everything? No, the numbers don't make sense yet. We can't even publish them on the NCAA website yet. We did ask the NCAA if we could do a reveal show. They're not willing to this year, maybe next year, they said, to kind of take you through the numbers. So we'll work on that for next year. But the long story short of it right now is there is still too much static in any numbers to show you what the numbers look like out there, folks. And you look at just common sense view of wins and losses and who's got what going on in these different conferences. And honestly, it's a real crapshoot right now. I mean, Wheaton of all teams, it looks like a weird team when you look at their numbers right now. Okay, they may not be a shoo-in. Is somebody else going to go in from the CCIW? I don't know. What happens in the OAC right now? Is John Carroll of the quality to do something? Is Marietta, if they just only lose to OAC to Mount Union, Marietta may merit a 9-1 bid essentially, or even maybe 8-2. Who knows? There's a lot to go on here. And you can sit there and say, oh, the numbers say this right now. Don't believe anybody that's trying to tell you that. They don't necessarily say what they're going to say in 3 or 4 weeks when they actually do mean something down the line. What are you most excited about or most fearful about even with how things are playing out right now across D3 Nation here?
Well, I know it's funny, like we sort of talk about the numbers and this and that every week, and I have a feeling, and it could be a real major letdown that when it's all said and done, that basically the teams that get in have 9 wins or better, and then maybe there's like 1 or 2 8-2 teams that sort of make it in because they're from a certain conference, or they have a out of conference win over a conference champion or something like that. And I think that there could be like sort of that easy way out where they take the 28 conference champions, and then they basically just hand out the bids to the teams that have the best records. And sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't. And there could be some qualified teams that just maybe had a bad game or this and that and the other thing that kind of get left in the cold there. I think we're going to be in for some surprises, and that would be, to me, the biggest fear letdown, is that we look at all these numbers and try to predict stuff and like, oh, this is what's going to happen, and then we find out, oh, well, if you have 9 wins, you're in, and that's it.
Yeah, they did overweight wins. There's no doubt from what a lot of people are thinking out there, it is the most overweighted in wins compared to all sports in Division III. I get what you're doing. They're trying to put a priority on winning, and that's fine. But, a bad loss should hurt you. A good loss should help you. If you're scheduling somebody very good, this system should have helped you. And apparently, a good loss can never help you in this system unless you're winless. And then only your best. Yeah,
I was thinking about that because I know I like to bang on the CCIW as being overrated, and they were ranked, I think, like the 4th strongest conference in Greg's ATN re-ranking. But when you look at their schedule now, I mean, they have the bad loss to North Central, and the reality is that most teams that play that team are probably going to lose pretty bad. But they only lost to Oshkosh, University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh, OWU. Or UWO, I'm all over the place today, by a touchdown. So now, 6 weeks into the season with some data, that's actually looks like, oh, wow, okay, so they played a team that just beat, a top, WIAC team, that looks like they could finish, second, maybe third in the conference. I don't know, maybe they can come back and cause a tiebreaker thing. So that, to me, like, if Wheaton ends up 8-2, which is probably what's going to happen, like, that would normally be a pretty easy Pool C pick. But now, if 9 wins is kind of the thing, like, maybe they don't necessarily get one. With 12, you'd think that they would, but I don't know.
I think they get it if they're 8-2.
So who else have they played?
That's the problem.
What's their quality win?
They deserve it.
They don't have any quality wins.
Yeah, and there'll be arguments in both directions on that. So I don't know. Again, I'm not paying attention to NPI numbers currently because there's nothing to be gleaned from them realistically. I mean, look, even Logan's, Springfield being the number 2 or number 3 team or whatever it was. Now they're number 6, I think, in his latest bracket. So, I mean, everything changes, and, upsets happen in both directions on this stuff. So I don't know. It's one of the things, though, is that it's still an improvement. We still have more teams going in. I think it's going to be I don't think anybody that wouldn't have otherwise gotten in won't get in. But then it's going to be kind of nitpicking about what did we do this for? Did we do it to reward the teams that actually deserve it, that we could actually parse out the right data and get in a committee to decide, these are the deserving teams? Or did we do it basically just to shove a bunch of numbers through a computer and say, look, hey, those are the results. That's great. Have a great day, everybody. And
can't blame us.
No,
it's the computer's
exactly.
fault.
And that's why we're not even going to do a committee chair interview this year. It just doesn't make sense to. There's no relevance to it, except where they're going to place teams in a bracket. We're not going to waste your Sunday evening talking about that. Ultimately, we'll waste it about just talking about the way the playoffs will look generally at that point, and that we can ascertain why they put a team there or there on the brackets. We're grown up enough to figure that out.
Mileage, cost. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Last thoughts here, real quick, as we hit the hour mark. I was at a game that had 21,000 plus one weekend. I was at a game that had 6,000 plus, and the 6,000 was every bit as loud as the 21,000 on those respective Saturdays. Got to see Clayton Parrish's mom actually grabbed me and said hi to me out there. Our friends at Grove City.
Sweet.
It was a good time for sure in both locations. It is the epitome of the two sides really of D3 football, where you have the private small college feel and the public university feel in some of these realms, and they're both very, very useful and great environments, and I'm thrilled I was at both of them. But they are both great. There's nothing greater about Whitewater, except maybe some of the facilities, obviously, than there is about Grove City and their atmosphere, or any of the other ones that we attend throughout the seasons. It'll be fun for sure at Del Valle this weekend. See if FDU Florham can do something that nobody would have really assumed they had a chance to do this year. We'll see. I mean, they may have been looking a little too far ahead in that Alvernia game this past Saturday. We'll see. But, JB, if you had one place in Division III football that you wanted to visit, the bucket list scenario, where would it be? You got Stag Bowl already now. We've checked that off. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, geez. I still feel like I'm overdue to catch a Secretary's Cup game in person. Just the pomp and circumstance of that. Probably, and no disrespect to our friends at Kings Point, but being from Connecticut and knowing what the campus and the view from the water is at the Coast Guard Academy in New London, I think seeing a game there would be pretty cool. I mean, there's obviously a lot of the big names like the Mount Unions and some of the tried and true, long-standing great programs of Division III. And maybe like a rivalry game like a Mon and Bell or one of those kinds of things would be fun. But I don't know. There's something that's a little extra special when you talk about guys who sacrifice everything to serve our country, and so I'd probably have to say Secretary's Cup, Connecticut.
I like it. My memory of being at Coast Guard last time I was at the Secretary's Cup game was Toop's last regular season game, because he did have a bowl game after that, and being able to catch the moment on the sideline when they doused him with the water bucket or Gatorade or whatever was in it. And but it is a great experience. That was my first ever broadcast, was at Coast Guard back in 1995, nearly 30 years ago. Yep. So there's a little bit of news you can't use right there, but good choice for sure. Mon and Bell is something I would like to actually attend before this is all said and done for us. There are others too, and I've been to Mount Union a number of times. A lot of Pennsylvania.
Maybe
locations.
the Cat Dome in Linfield, just because it's so far away. Yeah. It's literally the exact opposite, like the opposite end of the country from where I am. That would be a pretty unique trip to do.
Yep. That's pretty good. I like that. Maybe seeing, the 6th Street scenario with Claremont Mudscripts.
Yeah, in Southern California, yeah.
The 5 colleges basically collaborating there. There's so many different options and places we'd love to get to. Seeing some of the Texas facilities has always been great to us. I've gotten to basically 3 of them, Mary Hardin, Baylor, Hardin-Simmons, and Trinity now, which is speaks for itself, I think, as well. So there's a lot of great places, but to be at the record-breaking crowd and then being at a homecoming crowd with Grove City a week later, it gives you a little time to reflect when you're in that 6.5-hour car ride back of the how greatness of Division III and how lucky I am to be able to travel, and hopefully you'll get some more as well. Before we close out here, final thoughts on Week 6 before we head into Week 7. I mean, I think chaos is ensuing here at the midway point, more or less. And, I mean, take us through your last thoughts on it.
Yeah, chaos is ensuing, and time will only tell to what extent will the upsets from this weekend kind of impact the conference races and the playoff races. I do feel like we have enough data now that we can see that there will be at least a few, if not several, new conference champions and playoff participants than what we had last year. So there has been a little bit of a changing of the guard. But that said, there are still some very clear favorites. One of the teams that we probably should have been talking about for Pool C, Frank, is Brockport. I mean, can they slow Cortland down? Maybe. And, at 9-1, they would be a very strong, Pool C type of participant and a team that could do some damage in the playoffs. There's a lot of different things with this broader field. There's going to be hopefully some new and different matchups that we've never seen before. And there could be some teams that go on historic runs. So I'm excited to see how the next 5 weeks plays out. There's some big games that we'll preview on Friday in our live show. So tune in for that at 9 a.m. Eastern. We'll have at least one, maybe two guests to talk about what's going on around the country. And just keep it rolling. Week 7, here we come.
I'll go as far as saying 8-2 Brockport with losses only to Susquehanna and Cortland ultimately would
That's
probably
right.
qualify,
They did lose to
I
Susquehanna.
think, because they'd win against teams like Utica and others out there as well that have reasonably good records, although the wins, the condition of the wins matter. So they kind of need to get somebody else in the Empire 8 to have a quality win scenario for them setting up their numbers, but we'll see how it goes. But nonetheless, there's a lot more time to talk about all that coming up. We'll see you on Friday for our preview show. Again, I'll be heading out to Del Val on Saturday for the FDU Florham Del Val game, and we'll see how it goes out there. But first things first, Friday, live, 9 a.m., as always, on the East Coast. We'll see you then.